Let's get to the news. When asked why he thinks he's trailing behind former President Trump in some recent surveys, President Biden told reporters last week that he's beating Trump in 8 out of 10 polls, though, for what it's worth, they're both still trailing far behind literally anyone else. President Biden on Thursday met with members of the United Auto Workers in Illinois and wore a red UAW t-shirt. Ah, yes, the outfit of the common man. A t-shirt over a button-down. He looks like he ran out of clean laundry and had to wear everything inside out. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott announced that he has suspended his presidential campaign in a Fox News interview yesterday and said he thinks the voters are telling him, quote, "Not now, Tim." And I think he made the right call because half of them said, "Not now, Jim." That's right. Tim Scott yesterday suspended his presidential campaign, though something tells me we haven't seen the last of Tim Scott. Okay, now we have. That's probably the end of it. The Biden administration announced on Friday that the Department of Veterans Affairs will expand health benefits, including a no-cost option for those who served in World War II. Oh. Very generous. What else are you offering? Free insulin for Civil War veterans? Former President Trump reportedly held an off-the-record dinner for reporters last night in Mar-a-Lago and served Mr. President's wedge salad. Trump has a signature salad? What is it, ranch dressing on a Big Mac? The so-called QAnon shaman filed paperwork last week to run for Congress in Arizona as a moderate Republican. A state lawmaker in Florida recently introduced a new bill that would create a Margaritaville-themed license plate. Well, that ought to save time with the breathalyzer. According to a new report, the average rent in New York City decreased last month, but only because everyone added another roommate. After a deer in New Jersey recently dented the side of a Chevy Silverado right before its owner was set to sell the car, the man reduced the car's price by $1,000, while the deer's family was reduced by $1. I'll apologize for the rent joke, 2 back. But I'll die on this hill. Everything about that joke is perfect. If you want to sit there and groan because you didn't think of that joke, that's fine. But that's the only reason to be upset. A man in Australia recently survived a crocodile attack by biting it, causing the animal to let him go. And if I know Australians, it was the 3rd thing he mentioned when he got home. Yeah, boss was a real jack today. Oh, well, I saw Kendra. She changed her hair. Oh, and I bit a croc. Been getting a lot of complaints recently about how good my Australian accent is. But I think we pretty safely put those to bed. And finally, according to... Oh, wait a... Buck also means deer. I apologize. I'm so... Grow up. And finally, according to new analysis by an adult website, the most searched sex position in the country is the pretzel, followed closely by chiropractor near me. While testifying yesterday in the Trump Organization's civil fraud trial, Donald Trump Jr. said that his father is an artist when it comes to real estate and added, quote, "He sees things that other people don't. For example, 3 ghosts every Christmas Eve." You guys are back again? It's not gonna take. In a newly obtained confidential memo, former President Trump's pollster predicts that former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley will benefit the most from Senator Tim Scott's decision to end his campaign. Her poll numbers will be whatever she had before, plus 4 more people. In the same memo, former President Trump's pollster predicts that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley will be in a dogfight for second place. And you can tell DeSantis and Haley are getting ready for a rumble because they both just took off their heels. The banks behind the payment platform Zelle confirmed recently they are refunding customers who fell victims to scams from imposters pretending to be government agencies. But if you get a Venmo request from your congressman, that's real. Republican presidential hopeful Vivek Ramaswamy recently unveiled his plan to reduce the size of the federal government, which includes firing all employees who have a Social Security number that ends in an odd number. Bad news for Bernie Sanders, whose number is 1. The Supreme Court announced yesterday that it has adopted a new 14-page code of conduct, and justices are expected to know the whole thing inside and out by the time they get back from Ibiza. Ibiza? Do you think it would have worked better if I'd said Ibiza? Do you think the joke was strong, but everybody's like, I don't think he's been there. I don't think he's ever been there. And I'm not going to laugh for the joke now because he's never been there. New York Mayor Eric Adams held an event yesterday at the downtown Manhattan heliport to announce an initiative to create the first ever heliport for electric aircraft. And I was going to go, but the F train was 40 minutes late. House Speaker Mike Johnson said today that he is, quote, all in for President Trump. Meanwhile, a lot of Democrats are still just the tip for Biden. Just the tip? Is that keep making the same mistake. The luxury fashion brand Dior recently launched a new line of infant skincare that includes a $115 moisturizer, and this one-year-old is already passing for 11 months. A couple was arrested in Florida last week after they were allegedly caught fully nude having sex on a causeway. So you know I had to look that up. And it turns out a causeway is a road or track at the top of an embankment. Pretty cool. That's right, a couple was arrested. Don't worry, you didn't love that one. We're going to keep telling jokes about it. That's right, a couple was arrested in Florida last week after they were allegedly caught fully nude having sex on a causeway. And because it was Florida, people walking by were yelling, geez, you two, get a ditch. And finally, a couple was arrested in Florida last week. Look, we're here to tell you the news. For allegedly having sex fully nude on a public causeway after someone called 911 and said there were two people, quote, crack to sack, going to town. Said the 911 dispatcher, I'm gonna need you to be less specific. President Biden attacked former President Trump yesterday for calling his opponents vermin and said, quote, damn, he shouldn't be president. Of course he shouldn't be president, but that's what you're using as evidence? How about the 4 years he was president? The White House yesterday released the 5th National Climate Assessment, and if you're wondering how things are going, they said don't expect a 6th. House Speaker Mike Johnson yesterday defended former President Trump's false claims that the election was stolen and said, quote, I take him at his word. I do believe that he believes that, which is absolutely the smoothest way to call someone crazy. My wife does that to me all the time. I'll be like, hey, I'm a great husband. I believe that you believe that. Former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy denied claims yesterday that he elbowed Republican Congressman Tim Burchett in the back and added, quote, if I would hit somebody, they would know I hit them. I assume because his fist would bruise. The House... Just like a weird case where I don't know if we needed to see it. You know, I think if we all just, like, in our heads pictured a bruised fist, not one of them would be that weird. Bummer is we sent one of our writers out to just punch a wall. The House yesterday passed a temporary government funding bill that does not include any aid for Ukraine or Israel or, frankly, the U.S. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin said in an interview yesterday that he can't vote next year for former President Trump. Wow, that could really hurt Trump's chances in West Virginia. The U.S. Postal Service yesterday reported a $6.5 billion loss for the year, but they got a bold plan to make it all back. It just takes one. Just takes one sucker. Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski criticized Utah Senator Mitt Romney in a new interview for eating salmon with ketchup. To be fair, that's the spiciest dish you can get in Utah. The restaurant chain Chili's yesterday released an ad that features a new version of its jingle, Baby Back Ribs, performed by the R&B group Boyz II Men. Sounds like Boyz II Men has got bills to pay. Says the guy who did a Verizon ad. On my high horse. Former Vice President Mike Pence yesterday released a new book titled Go Home for Dinner. Look for it wherever tables are a little crooked. That's right, Mike Pence released a new book titled Go Home for Dinner. I guess it's no surprise he thinks eating out is a sin. Bruised a couple of fists with that one. And finally, New York State education officials are reportedly considering dropping the Regents exams as a high school graduation requirement, while Massachusetts high schools are considering dropping the breathalyzer. President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping agreed yesterday to reestablish military communications. It's what Biden is calling the greatest U.S.-China collaboration since rush hour. Needed that one to go well tonight, because he's on the show. The White House said yesterday that President Biden will sign the continuing resolution to keep the government funded through January 19th. So now we can finally put this all behind us and also in front of us. After he challenged a witness testifying before a Senate committee yesterday to a physical fight, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin told Fox News he was representing, quote, Oklahoma values, though based on his behavior, I have to assume Oklahoma Values is a dollar store outside of Tulsa. Well, there's a lot of fights at Oklahoma Values. After he challenged the president of the Teamsters Union to a fight, Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin discussed his combat strategy with reporters yesterday and said, quote, in a fight, I'm gonna bite. I'll do anything. I'm not above it, and I don't care where I bite, by the way. So you're definitely threatening to bite his penis. Even Jeffrey Dahmer is like, this guy is unwell. Embattled New York Congressman George Santos announced today that he will not seek re-election. However, he asked voters to consider casting their ballot in the next election for Georgina Diablos. In a new interview, Disney CEO Bob Iger said the company is developing a third Frozen movie and added there might be a Frozen 4 in the works too. Kind of surprising for a franchise whose signature song is Let It Go. A production company in London announced this week a musical based on actress Gwyneth Paltrow's skiing collision trial will open next month. We should go, said someone halfway through the first act. It was announced yesterday that the Beasts library attraction at Disneyland will permanently close next month. Wow! Closing a Disney attraction and a library. That's like Ron DeSantis' best day. And finally, CBS this week announced that it's canceling its show Young Sheldon. Man, and just after Fox canceled Old Sheldon. And that was a